Welcome back. You're watching the Friday night edition of The Globe on the SABC News Channel. And tonight we begin the first hour looking at the situation in Zimbabwe. And we're talking right now to the president of the MDC Alliance, the official opposition, Emmerson Chamisa. Mr. Chamisa, just before the break, we started talking about the way forward. And the President Mnangagwa, has asked political players in the country to sit at a table and to discuss a way forward. But this isn't an invitation that you've taken up.
Yes, what we need in Zimbabwe to resolve our crisis is real change. What we need is a national consensus, a national convergence by all progressive forces, by all citizens, to be able to then say, what is it that we're going to do to return our country to legitimacy and democracy, to openness, to accountability. We must bring sanity to our politics, dignity to our politics, integrity to our politics. Politics must be a place where we celebrate accountability, where we celebrate the supremacy of our citizens, the supremacy of Zimbabweans. And to be able to do that, we need a 5-step solution. The first one is an agreement on the articulation of what the nature of the crisis is. Ours is clear. The nature of the crisis is that it is a governance crisis. It is a political crisis, a legitimate crisis. In order to resolve it, we need the second step, which is an ability to address the comprehensive reforms that we need. Electoral reforms, political reforms, constitutional reforms, institutional reforms, so that we are able to move, including economic reforms, to move our country forward. The third issue is then to be able to say what vehicle is going to transition our country from our current circumstances of a stalemate, from our current circumstances of an economic meltdown, unemployment, corruption, to move it to a new dispensation in real terms, where Zimbabwe is in business and indeed open for business. At the moment, to be able to do that, we need a transitional mechanism, which is an agreed transitional mechanism on account of political dialogue by all Zimbabweans in an inclusive manner, in a progressive and comprehensive manner. Once we do that, we start to build national healing, we start to build our bridges, we start to build our economy, we start also to correct our past errors, omissions and commissions. Having done that, we build bridges with the international community, SABC, the AU, and the global community at large, so that we are able to address issues of the banana republic tag that we have. We begin to restore who we are as a people, so that we are able to move our country forward. And of course, once we have done that, we prepare for comprehensive reforms for election. We have a proper election where the winner is clearly known. And once we go into that election, there has to be a pre-election, post-election part, an agreement on who is going to play what role. Because what we have seen in the past is that if the election in Zimbabwe has become a zero-sum game, it has actually caused problems because people do not know their fate post an election, and that has caused problems around rigging, manipulation, and of course the distortion of the will of the people.
All right, so the elections did happen. President Mnangagwa won. His party got the majority in parliament. You talk about a transitional period, but surely isn't it up to the ruling party to decide what happens in the country?
As you know, the election in Zimbabwe was a disputed election. The mandate that Mr. Mnangagwa got is a mandate that he got through the Constitutional Court, which was a disputed mandate. So we have actually a disputed state with a state that is contested. And because the state is contested, this has had a bearing on our ability to marshal enough confidence nationally and even internationally to move our country forward. If we don't cure this deficit of good governance, this deficit of confidence by the citizens in their leadership, we will not be able to move forward, because what we need is to address issues of certainty, issues of confidence, issues of ease of doing business, issues of making sure that we begin to address fundamental economic questions Zimbabweans are facing, fundamental social questions Zimbabweans are facing. 7.7 million Zimbabweans are food risk and food fragile. We need to address that. We have issues of drought. We have issues of corruption. They need a solid, agreed national leadership, and that can only be a product of coming together. This is not a new problem. This has been a decades-long problem. It started in the 80s with disputed elections, went into the 90s, in the 2000s. You know that Mr. Mnangagwa was part of the key players. So we were, as we had this to and fro between Mr. Mugabe and Mr. Tsvangirai. That is the same problem. It's the old problems that need new solutions. And we can't cure this problem until we tackle these issues head on.
All right. So does that mean a government of national unity might be in the offing?
Well, we cannot talk about a government of national unity. We are talking about a transitional mechanism. And again, it has to be a product of a political process, a political settlement, having the international community, particularly SABC, particularly President Ramaphosa in his capacity as the chair of the AU, helping in the scaffolding of the process, underwriting the process, so that we don't have any sliding back. We don't have any negation of the gains of the people in terms of what they would want to see a stable, prosperous, and a transformed Zimbabwe.
You're accused of taking money from the West, from America, to overthrow the government of the day. Your thoughts on those accusations?
Well, that shows you how unserious our colleagues are. These accusations are baseless. These accusations are only meant to try and justify. You know, when a leopard wants to eat its own young, it starts to accuse it of smelling like a goat. This is just to justify repression. This is just to justify, exclusive politics. There is no way Zimbabweans, in their millions, we got 2.6 million votes in the election. Zimbabweans can't be mistaken to be Westerners. They can't be mistaken to be, white people who are sponsoring us and those who want, imperialists who want us to destroy our country. We have legitimate stake in the future of our country, in the affairs of our country. And this is what we have said has to be sorted out. At no point have we received any cent from anybody. If anything, the only motivation we have is from the majority of Zimbabweans and the African agenda that we continue to put on the map to make sure that we have African solutions to African problems. It's becoming a laughing stock that we can't resolve our own issues. Simple matters need simple solutions, and we are the citizens. So this finger pointing or trying to blame others for our own problems is not the way to go.
President Ramaphosa has sent 2 envoys to Zimbabwe to try and help the country manage the crisis at the moment. Do you think that the envoys might be able to broker some kind of solution? Yes, I have a lot of respect for President Ramaphosa. He has been doing a lot to try and help not only South Africa but the continent. And you know that the theme in the African Union is silencing the guns. We hope that the initiative is a good starting point in resolving the issues. It's an acknowledgement that there is a crisis. It's an acknowledgement that we cannot continue to bury our heads in the sand. It's an acknowledgement that things are not well in Zimbabwe. And there is a governance crisis. There is indeed a humanitarian crisis, but also a regional crisis, because the Zimbabwean problem is no longer a Zimbabwean problem, it's actually an African problem. It's a regional problem in the context of SABC. So we see this as a good initiative, and good initiatives need to also be given a good response and a good opportunity to see that there is sincerity so that we then move processes forward. We have always been available as MDC Alliance, being the biggest political formation in Zimbabwe. So what's not negotiable for you? So what's not negotiable for you when the envoys come and they put things on the table? What's a minimum that you will accept?
What we need to see is a return to democracy. What we need to see are fundamental reforms, electoral reforms, political reforms that are going to usher in a proper new dispensation, a real change. We do not want to do things for politics. This is not about Mr. Mnangagwa. This is not about ZANU-PF or MDC. This is about Zimbabwe. This is about building a solid foundation for transformation, a solid foundation for opportunities and prosperity for our country. It's not a good thing that we have over 4 million people in the diaspora, when we have over 60 resources that we can exploit, when we have the smartest brains in our country, the most peaceful people, the most hardworking people, industrious people you can ever find on the planet. And we can't account for the bad things that we are going through because everything else is good except leadership.
All right, and perhaps finally, if nothing changes and people start to lose their patience, because when we read what's happening on social media, there are people who just actually want to take up arms and overthrow this government. How are you going to manage this tension and this desperation that some people are expressing?
Nothing lasts forever. Change is inevitable. The same that can no longer hold. Things are falling apart. And we need to make sure that things start to fall together. They only fall together because it takes two to tango. We have to work together to build our country. There is no option. They can't avoid us. We can't avoid them. We must all come together as a people and chart a common way forward. And being supported by our African brothers and sisters in South Africa and Botswana, in the neighboring countries, Angola, Mozambique, Tanzania, and of course, Africa-wide. We hope that we are going to be able to find each other and say this is the common solution. We have insisted that we do not want anarchy and chaos. We do not want violence or war because we've seen the dire consequences elsewhere on the continent and beyond. We do not want that road. The road of violence is the road to nowhere. We want peace for our country. We want to build bridges. We want to smoke a peace pipe. And once we've done that, Zimbabwe is going to start flying and we restore the Switzerland of Africa. We restore the best, country that we are going to see in Africa, south of Sahara.
Emmerson Chamisa, President of the MDC Alliance in Zimbabwe, thanks very much indeed for your time.